Hey there. Let's talk about something really interesting today. You know how the way we write often reflects the times we live in? Big events, new ideas, they change our language.
Absolutely. But what happens when the change isn't driven by, say, a world event, but by technology?
Hmm.
Specifically, AI starting to shape, well, the very words used in science.
Exactly. It's kind of a quiet revolution, isn't it? And that's what we're doing today, a deep dive into this fascinating study from Science Advances. It's called Delving into LLM-assisted Writing in Biomedical Publications Through Excess Vocabulary.
Yeah, and it's not just about like spotting AI text, it's much deeper. It's about understanding how these large language models, LMs, like
Yeah.
ChatGPT,
Yeah.
are leaving a footprint on, the production of scientific knowledge itself.
Right. So our mission here is to unpack how these researchers figured this out. They found this widespread, often really subtle influence of LLMs in biomedical papers. We need to look at their method, which is pretty clever.
Uh-huh. Very clever. And the scale of what they found, honestly, it's surprising. And then what does it all mean for, the integrity of science communication?
Yeah, get ready for maybe some aha moments because this change, it's happening way faster than you might think, and it's altering the actual style of academic writing. It's unprecedented, really. Makes you wonder, is this a new scientific voice emerging, or are we losing something?
A big question.
So let's start at the beginning. What really kicked off this big shift? What was the catalyst?
Well, it really traces back to late 2022, specifically November. That's when models like ChatGPT became widely available. Suddenly, you had tools that could generate and, crucially, revise text in a way that felt very human.
And scientists, being researchers, started using them pretty quickly, I imagine.
Oh, definitely. Many jumped on board using LLMs for all sorts of writing tasks, drafting sections, polishing text, even cases of co-authoring papers with the AI.
Okay, but that sounds like it would immediately ring some alarm bells.
It did. Big concerns popped up almost instantly. Research integrity, obviously. Could the AI introduce factual errors? Could it reinforce existing biases from its training data?
And the whole paper mill problem, too, right? Those outfits churning out fake research.
Exactly. The fear was they could misuse LLMs to make fake papers look more convincing more easily.
Hmm.
And, the early methods for detecting AI writing, they weren't perfect.
How so? What were the limitations?
Well, many relied on training data where you already knew what was human, what was AI, but that could bake in biases right from the start. Others used these sort of black box detectors.
Meaning they'd flag something as AI written but wouldn't tell you why.
Precisely. No explanation, which isn't very helpful for understanding the phenomenon.
Okay, so this study took a different tack. What was their novel approach?
This is where it gets really neat. They developed this data-driven method they called mortality during the COVID pandemic,
Oh.
looking for deaths above the expected baseline.
Ah, okay. I see the parallel.
Yeah. So instead of training a model to spot AI style, they just looked at the data. They asked, which words suddenly started appearing way more often in scientific abstracts right after LLMs became widely available?
Compared to before, like a baseline period.
Exactly. They specifically used 2021 and 2022 data as their pre-LLM baseline and compared it to 2024. If a word's frequency just shot up unexpectedly in 2024, that was their signal.
Makes sense. So what kind of data were they working with? How big was this analysis?
It was massive. They analyzed over 15 million English language biomedical abstracts, all from the PubMed database, spanning from 2010 right through to early 2024.
15 million. Wow,
Yeah.
okay. And you mentioned they had specific ways to measure these frequency jumps.
Right. Two complementary measures. One they called the excess frequency gap, or delta. The other was the excess frequency ratio, or R.
Why two? What's the difference?
Well, think about it. A word like the is already super common. So even a small percentage point increase in its use is a big deal, right? That's what the gap, delta, catches, increases in frequent words.
Okay, and the ratio.
The ratio R is better for less common words. A word might only appear a few times normally, so if it suddenly appears, say, 10 times more often, the ratio increase is huge, even if the absolute number isn't massive. The ratio highlights those big proportional jumps for rarer words.
Got it. So using both gives you a fuller picture. Delta for the common stuff, R for the less common. Clever.
Yeah, it helps capture different kinds of changes, subtle and dramatic.
So what did they actually find? What kind of words started spiking in 2024? Was it technical jargon?
That's the fascinating part. Mostly no. It wasn't about new scientific concepts. It was about style. For instance, looking at those infrequent words with high ratios, Delves was used 28 times more often than expected.
28 times.
Yeah. Underscores was up 13.8 times, showcasing 10.7 times. See, these are words about how you present information, not the information itself.
Verbs and, well, descriptive words. What about the more common words? Did they see shifts there too?
They did, using that excess frequency gap measure. Words like potential saw a 5.2 percentage point increase in frequency. Findings, up 4.1 points. Crucial, up 3.7 points. Again, these are often used for emphasis or framing.
So it's painting this picture of maybe a more elaborate or, dare I say, flowery style emerging.
You could say that. And this is where the comparison they made is so powerful. They looked back at the COVID-19 pandemic years, 2020 to 2022.
Right. Another major event that changed scientific language.
Exactly. Back then, words like coronavirus, COVID, lockdown, pandemic, they exploded. Some had frequency ratios over 1,000. Huge gaps do.
But they were different kinds of words.
Totally different. They were almost all content words, mostly nouns. Yeah. Concrete things related to the pandemic. The number of unique excess words during COVID peaked around 180 in 2021.
Okay, so how does the 2024 LLM surge compare?
Get this. The 2024 surge was larger in terms of unique words. They found 343 unique excess words linked to LLM timing. But the type of words was the key difference.
Style words again.
Overwhelmingly. About 66% of these new excess words were verbs and another 14% were adjectives. It's a massive stylistic shift, not primarily a content shift like COVID was.
Wow. It really suggests the AI isn't just helping organize thoughts, it's influencing the actual phrasing scientists use. Can you give some examples? Did the study show what this looks like in practice?
Oh yeah, they pulled some real examples from 2023 abstracts that really illustrate this LLM style. Listen to this one. By meticulously delving into the intricate web connecting, and this comprehensive chapter takes a deep dive into their involvement.
Meticulously delving, intricate web, comprehensive chapter. Yeah, okay, I hear it.
Right. Or how about a comprehensive grasp of the intricate interplay between Jia and Boqi is pivotal for effective therapeutic strategies.
Intricate interplay, pivotal. It definitely has a certain sound.
One more. Initially, we delve into the intricacies of accentuating its indispensability in cellular physiology, the enzymatic labyrinth governing its flux, and the pivotal mechanisms.
Enzymatic labyrinth. Okay, that's quite something. It really drives home the point. This isn't just editing help, it's a distinct stylistic signature emerging, almost like a new dialect of scientific writing.
That's a good way to put it. An unprecedented shift in academic prose, seemingly driven by these tools.
So once they identified this linguistic fingerprint, this LLM dialect, the big question becomes, how common is it? How much of the literature is showing this pattern?
Right, they needed to quantify it. And the scale they uncovered is, well, pretty staggering.
How did they estimate the overall usage?
They combined the signals from multiple marker words. They actually used two different sets of words to check their results. One was a big set of 291 rarer words that their automated process flagged.
Okay, and the other?
The other was a smaller, hand-picked set of just 10 common words that showed strong signal. Words like comprehensive, crucial, enhancing, insights, notably, words we've already touched on.
And did both sets of words point to similar levels of usage?
Remarkably similar, yes, which gives a lot of confidence in the finding. When they averaged the estimates from both sets, they arrived at a figure.
The big number.
The big number. A conservative lower bound estimate that 13.5% of all PubMed abstracts published in early 2024 had been processed using an LLM.
13.5%. Wow, just think about that. What does that translate to in terms of actual papers?
It means at least 200,000 papers per year showing this LLM influence. Minimum.
And put that 13.5% in perspective. How does it compare to, say, the COVID language shift?
That's another stunning comparison. The LLM usage they detected in 2024, this 13.5% lower bound, was already twice as high as the peak level of COVID-specific literature back in 2021.
Twice the impact of a global pandemic on scientific vocabulary, just from this one technological shift. That's incredible.
It really is. And remember,
it's a lower bound.
Exactly.
Yep.
It's conservative. Why? Because their method only counts abstracts that contain those specific marker words. If an abstract was edited by an LLM but didn't happen to use Delves or Pivotal or the others,
it wouldn't be counted, so the true percentage is likely higher.
Very likely higher, yes.
Okay, so we know it's widespread, but is it uniform? Is everyone using LLMs at this rate, or are there hotspots?
Oh, that's the next layer. No, it's definitely not uniform. They found really interesting variations when they broke the data down.
Like across different scientific fields.
Yep. Computational fields, things like bioinformatics, computational biology, they showed much higher estimated usage, around 20%.
Okay, that maybe makes intuitive sense. What about geography? Different countries.
Big differences there, too. Some English-speaking countries, like the UK and Australia, actually showed lower detected usage, maybe around 5%. But several non-English-speaking countries, particularly China, South Korea, Taiwan, they showed significantly higher rates, again around that 20% mark.
Interesting. And journals? Does it matter where people are publishing?
Huge difference there. The big name, high-prestige journals, Nature, Science, Cell, they had much lower detectable usage, around 7%.
Okay.
But then you look at some open access journals, especially those known for faster, maybe simplified review processes. Places like MDPI Sensors or Springer Nature's Curious.
Higher rates.
Much higher. Around 20% to 25% estimated LLM usage in their 2024 abstracts.
Wow. So it's really clustered in certain areas. Did they find any extreme examples?
They did. They pinpointed specific hotspots.
Yeah.
For instance, papers coming from South Korea, published in that journal Sensors, estimated LLM usage hit 34%. Computation papers from China, up to 41%.
41%.
And even specific subtopics, like papers on deep learning for object detection with Chinese affiliations published in Sensors.
Yeah.
Those showed estimated rates as high as 50%, half of them.
Incredible. So what's the interpretation here? Why these huge differences?
Well, there are a few likely factors. Researchers in computational fields might just be more comfortable with, more exposed to, and maybe more willing to adopt AI tools. That's one possibility.
And the country differences, especially the higher rates in non-English speaking countries.
That strongly suggests LLMs are being used heavily for language assistance. Helping non-native speakers polish their English, improve grammar, refine phrasing. That could be a major driver.
Makes sense. What about the journal differences? Why lower in Nature and higher in places like Sensors?
That's a bit more speculative. It could be that authors aiming for journals with super fast turnaround times might be more tempted to use LLMs heavily, perhaps for what some might call lower effort articles. Or it could be about how well authors edit the LLM output.
So native English speakers, or maybe authors aiming for those top journals, might be better at spotting and removing that slightly unnatural LLM-preferred language.
Exactly. They might use the LLM just as much, but they clean up the output more effectively, making their usage harder to detect with this specific method.
Which implies?
It implies that the true overall LLM usage across all of biomedical publishing might actually be closer to those highest lower bounds they observed. The 20%, 30%, even higher figures.
Which lines up with what some surveys are finding when researchers self-report their use.
It does. It suggests the real penetration could easily be over 30%, which is, again, a staggering figure for something that barely existed in this form 2 years ago.
So we've covered the how they detected it and the how much, but let's dig into the why. Why are scientists using these tools so much, and what are the big picture implications?
Well, the appeal is pretty clear, right? As we touched on, LLMs can be genuinely helpful. They can improve grammar, fix awkward phrasing, enhance readability.
Help with translation, generate quick summaries.
Exactly. For a busy researcher, especially one maybe not writing in their native language, these are real benefits. Speed things up, make the writing clear.
There's always a but. This is definitely a double-edged sword. Yeah. What are the big risks, the dangers everyone's worried about?
Oh, they are significant. We know LLMs can just make things up, fabricate references that look real but aren't, provide inaccurate summaries, make false claims that sound completely authoritative because the language is so smooth.
And the bias issue is still there, right? Reflecting biases in the data they were trained on.
Absolutely. And outright plagiarism is a concern too. Plus, there's this worry about homogenization.
Meaning?
If everyone starts using the same tool, does all scientific writing start to sound the same? Do we lose diversity in expression, maybe even novelty in thinking? Does it worsen things like citation injustice, where certain work gets overlooked if the LLM is trained on biased citation patterns?
That's a subtle but potentially huge impact. And then there's the deliberate misuse.
Right, the paper mills, using LLMs to churn out fake science at scale. That's a major threat to the integrity of the whole system.
So you've got these powerful tools with clear benefits, but also really serious risks, and usage is exploding. How are publishers and funders dealing with this? What's the policy landscape look like?
It's evolving and maybe struggling to keep up. You see different approaches. Some journals or publishers have banned using LLMs during peer review. Some say LLMs can't be listed as co-authors. Others require disclosure if an LLM was used significantly.
But is it working? Are people following these rules?
That's the million-dollar question. And that's precisely why studies like this one are so important. They give us an objective, data-driven way to see what's actually happening on the ground.
To monitor whether policies are being followed or maybe largely ignored.
Exactly. This kind of analysis provides crucial evidence for that ongoing debate about how to manage LMs in science. It moves beyond anecdotes and surveys to actual linguistic evidence.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. What's the main takeaway here, the big picture?
The main takeaway is just the sheer scale and speed of this change. The impact of LLMs on the language of science is genuinely unprecedented. It's already overshadowed the linguistic impact of a global pandemic. It's a massive transformation happening right now.
And the future seems pretty clear this isn't going away.
No way. The true level of LLM use is almost certainly higher than this study's lower bound, and as the models get better and more integrated into workflows, this trend is only going to accelerate. The future is basically here.
Which really forces a serious conversation, doesn't it, about policies, regulations, the very definition of authorship and integrity in science. What does it mean for discovery when potentially a third or more of research abstracts have this distinct AI stylistic signature?
How do we ensure science stays innovative, diverse, accurate, and trustworthy in this new landscape? This study gives us a powerful tool to track what's happening.
But the deeper thinking, the difficult conversations, the necessary policy changes, those are still unfolding. It leaves you, the listener, with a lot to mull over, doesn't it? How do we navigate this? How do we ensure AI serves science without undermining it? That's the ongoing deep dive for all of us.